Hello.
Yeah. Call Jessica. I'm like, hey, I just got a.
All right, guys. Good morning. I am just waiting to see if Luther joins here. I haven't seen him on the list yet. I've muted all of you guys, so I apologize if you're in the middle of a conversation. But if you wanted to say anything, go ahead and write something in the chat. If you can't hear me or anything like that, go ahead and throw it in the chat so I can see that. But I think like everybody can, and I'm just waiting for Luther. There he is. Let's unmute Luther. Hey, Luther, are you there? All right. Luther's shy. No video of Luther apparently.
No, I don't know what's happening. It's not logging in.
There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
All right, perfect. Say thanks, Luther, for doing this. I appreciate it. So to get started, let's kind of start from the beginning. I know a lot of people kind of know your story. They've been around, but there's some new people, obviously, that work in the office that haven't heard. So what did you do before you got into real estate?
Before I was doing civil engineering for the county of LA. Yeah, okay, and I went to school for that, graduated, worked in the field for 4 years. And after being in there 4 years, I started wanting to get into something else because I needed to pay off my school debt. So I paid my way through school. What I couldn't afford, I borrowed, and it was quite a bit. And I realized in the job that I had, it wasn't happening anytime soon. So I had to get into something more aggressive. I thought just a weekend job, it wasn't going to pull me away. But then once I saw the potential and how this can help me fulfill everything I want in regards to my financial goals and my lifestyle, I started treating it like a business, and then really started seeing the fruits of the labor, even in the weekends, so much that it made sense to do it full time and walk away from everything that I had gone to school for and studied and worked on and started to build up with the county. So going from a job where you had guaranteed salary, the whole thing, you went to school specifically for that. What was the mindset like making that choice of getting rid of all the security and going, all right, I'm going to work for commissions only? Yeah, I really had to adjust to the discipline. That was huge. So, you know how when you just start doing something, even when you start dating or whatever, you're just like all in and you're excited and you got the discipline down because you're inspired, right? You're not really like needing anybody to push you. And then all this other stuff settles in, kind of like the news, the media, everything that we're dealing with right now, all the naysayers, you don't make a sale for so long. And everything starts settling in, and that's a mindset that I had an issue with. It's not like, hey, I'll pay the price. I know what I got myself into. I know what I signed up for. Only commissions. I don't have that stability. However, I did see everybody that was doing it. And I'm like, I know if they can do it, I can certainly do it. So it was that shift in mindset and developing the discipline is what I had the most challenge with.
Yeah. And so what was it like for you, for you to really start to get any kind of momentum or consistent production? How long did that take you when you first started?
It did take a while because I started part-time, but once I hit full-time, it took me 4 months to do my first sale. And then they were just scattered because I didn't have systems. So I would say within that year is when I started getting a little bit of momentum. But I'm talking after doing day in and day out everything I had to do. And it was pretty much door knocking, 3 hours in the morning, and then I had lunch and then continued door knocking because I had zero business. So I would say a full year.
A question just popped up from Steve. He wanted to know, what year was this?
That was 1999. I'll never forget. 1999. Yep.
Seems like forever ago.
But I did do it part-time on and off. I mean, I was still doing schooling in the engineering graduate program, and I was working at the county, and I started doing real estate. So I really had a full plate. That's why I look at the youngsters that join our company, and they're kind of just dating around. They don't have kids. They live with their parents. Now is the time to do all that, guys.
Yeah.
I know what just burning the candle at both ends and just giving it all when you can, and you plan all the season, do what you have to do so that when you're pretty much where I'm at with trying to juggle family, 3 kids, and now really being there with them, you could put you pay the price and you pay it right, not just, scattering and doing all kinds of things, chasing that magic pill, if you will.
Right. Now, you said when you started and you finally started working full time, you were door knocking. So you said 3 hours a day in the morning you would door knock. Is that all you did was door knock?
That's it. I was too shy to speak on the phone. Yeah, I would door knock. It was just easier. A lot of agents are just better face to face. And I just felt like once I connected with people, there's something about people reading like my desire to help them out. And I just did well in that sense versus cold calling.
Yeah, I think that for a lot of people, that's an easier way to do it. And the quality of the contact is great too, because you're right there face to face with somebody and you can see how they're reacting to your questions, and you get a better read on them a lot of times than you do on the phone. So your first year, you said, how many did you do in your first year, full-time year?
Man, I don't even remember. I don't. It was scattered. I just know that at the end of the first year, I made what I was making as an entry-level engineer, which is about like $38,000. That I do remember. Okay.
Yeah.
So I did enough where it's like in the weekends, I'm making this much versus my full-time job that I did all this to get to. I know that if I just dedicate a year, so I talked to the supervisor, stepped away for a year, I had a year to make it happen. So I didn't necessarily like burn the ships right from the get-go, but if I didn't make it in that first year, I had something to fall back on, but the plan was not to fall back. If I was going to make it, it had to be in that year, so I had to go all in. So I just wonder, what if everybody was like that? What if you had 6 months? What if you had 3 months? You would make it, you would make it happen, you know?
Yeah, you like you said, burning the ships, right? You don't have a choice. It's like I got to move forward, and so
whatever that commission was, it was enough for me to really think about it and just take that leap of faith, because the numbers, the paychecks, those numbers were real when I got paid, and the potential for this business is like way more than that. And yes, in 1999, that was a lot of money too.
Yeah.
Okay? It's far back, but when you're at that age and you're making that money, and you were making that money on top of making a salary, that was a lot of money. So I felt like I had enough. And I always remember people saying, you have to have 6 months of living expenses. I live with my parents. It was practically zero.
Yeah.
I did help them out with the money I make. However, I just figured, if not now, when was I going to do this? So that's what all those things came into play for me to just take that leap of faith.
All right. Well, there's a lot of questions coming in, but I want to get to some things and then we'll jump into the questions. So how long did it take you really to get to the point where you were, let's use, for lack of a better term, top producer? How many years did it take you to get to that point?
You know, it did take me a while. I'm thinking it took like a good like 5 or 6 years to start getting into, like, I remember hitting like I sold 10 houses in 1 month. You know, I was just like, I made it. That's it.
Right.
Like, it was all going to be uphill from there. I mean, downhill from there. Right. So I would say between the 5th and 6th year is when that happened.
Okay. So but that 5th and 6th year, that takes you right into 2007, 2008, when everything started to go. So how did that affect you, that market, right? So
that's a very good observation, because I hit it, and then I started making some money, and then I started going into being an investor, a developer. And that's when, you know, the market crashed right after, you know, a good full year. I couldn't believe this, which is why I'm never going to do that now. And I don't do that now, is that I would tell people, I'm doing real estate investing. I don't list homes anymore. I'll refer you to somebody that does. I let go of listings and sales. I couldn't believe it, but I was just focused on like, no, I'm going to make the big money, you know, and once you reach 600,000-700,000 because you did a few development deals or some really good flips, and then you don't want to deal with clients anymore. So I kind of let it get to my head, but then I forgot about what was feeding this machine that I was wanting to build. And that way, now I learned from that, and I'll be damned if I give up the, you know, 400,000 or 500,000 a year in that business of sales that feeds everything else, which is why, you know, I learned from that.
Okay, well, I mean, if you're willing to be honest, what was that effect on you? So you stopped with the real estate business. You weren't listing homes anymore. You were doing the developing, the investing, and then the market crashed. How did that affect you personally, financially?
Yeah, always willing to be honest, but if you want to go there, it affected me a lot. I don't want to say that led to a bunch of things that I'm going to say, but, you know,
yeah,
it was as a whole. I mean, I held off as much as I could. I used the reserves that I had to pay off as many things as I could. I thinking that I was just going to make it, but I didn't have the original stuff that was feeding me for a long time, which was my sales. So the outcome of that was eventually bankruptcy, eventually divorce. Went through some heavy lawsuits that contributed to that. Some heavy law. I mean, one of them was like $2 million I was being sued for. A personal one, civil one, and then real estate related. I mean, GMAC sued me for my real estate license with the Department of Real Estate. That's how heavy one of them was. I made it, overcame that. Joe really helped me with that. That's when I joined his company at the tail end of that. So 2 years later, being an All-Stars, I was still being audited on all my files because of that lawsuit. That's how long it was. So there was just like a huge stuff, a lot of things that came together besides the market crash that caused me to just be in debt. Like, I want to go file bankruptcy, and the court said no, because you have all these things still that potentially could generate money. So I had to file for the repayment one. I think it's like that went from 7 to 13 on the chapters, but I still filed 7, and the court came back and gave me trouble with that. So I had to file 13 and spent about 5 years paying back the people that I owed money to, pretty much.
Wow.
So
now,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, no, the reason I was asking that, and I appreciate you sharing all that stuff, because that's really deep that these had to go through. But the reason I wanted you to do that is because right now I feel like we're going through this, right? We can't control what's happening with the COVID-19 and with being locked at home and not being able to be around people. But what's happening to us, I think, as agents, and even for us as management, it's really starting to weigh on us. It's really starting to weigh on us emotionally and mentally, right? That how we can focus. And so I wanted you to be able to share with them what you went through 10 years ago, so that we can now talk about what was the shift for you in mindset to get you from that space 10 years ago to where you are today. Because I think that a lot of people are going to have that same shift dealing with this and moving forward.
Great. All right. So I didn't have to share any of that. Great. I get it. All right. I should listen better. All right. So the mindset is everything, which is why really right now I'm not worried. That's why I like when Joe says, hey, this is going to pass. For me, it's like, man, everything that I went through, it passed. And I'll never forget meeting with Joe. I mean, it took several meetings for me to come to his office and finally join. But it was that sense of like, okay, I would share everything. You know, Joe doesn't like drama, and you want to share all the things that are going wrong. Yeah, but you don't understand, this is going on and this. Joe would hear me out, and then he would just, okay, so what are we going to do to get back on track? And I hated that about him, but I love it because I needed that. I needed that direction to say, okay, once you're done complaining and once you're done
Luther, if you can hear me, I just lost your audio. I don't know if everybody else is hearing you.
I'm seeing a little waiting, buffering on my screen. Can you hear
me?
Guys. I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you too.
You're good.
Okay, so I guess Kyle can't hear me. I lost his audio. I can't see anybody, but okay, well, I'll just continue. So one of the things that when I met with Joe was that he gave me a sense of like, okay, you know what, you need to get back to play.
Explain that to them.
I'm hearing everybody now.
We got muted.
I hope so.
Damn, can everybody mute
everybody's
themselves?
complaining right now, like everybody's.
All right, hold on.
Hey guys, are we back on track?
All right. All right, where's Luther? Luther, if you can unmute yourself, I muted everybody. There we go. Luther, are you there now?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So we're back on track. So it's a perspective of like everything that I went through, and it was pretty bad. It's like unprecedented to what's going on right now, but the market is real in regards to it potentially going in a certain direction, regardless of what happens. Like, I'm not really worried because I remain consistent in everything that I'm doing. Okay. And the conversation with Joe was like, you know what you got to do to get yourself out of this mess and pay everybody back and do everything that you have to do to get back on financially. And that's going to solve a lot of problems for you right now. It's going to solve everything, right? Yeah. And money really was going to solve everything that I was going through. I didn't have money to pay the attorneys to defend me at that point. And I felt like I was digging a deeper hole, because the more I went into that negativity, into that mindset, I realized, like, man, that's my only solution right now. I got to get to work. And when I joined All Stars is when I just put my head in the sand and I just got to work. I really needed to stay focused and get myself out of that mess. So my mindset was the only thing that shifted, because the market was still going on for a while. Yeah. I had just started my bankruptcy. So I thought, like, I was just going to, like, throw in the towel for a long time. However, I started seeing the agents and the investors and everybody that was still making money regardless of what was going on. So what really changed in the middle of everything? I just changed the way I was thinking. I changed how I saw everything. I saw opportunity, and I started, going towards doing some investing, even not having money, because of that mentality, because there was good deals out there. And I just got them using hard money loans, and it forced me to pay them down quicker. So I started just having a different perspective. And that's why it's very important to work on your mindset every day, which I do, and be around individuals that are making that happen. And pretty soon you stop talking about all your problems and all your limitations, and you start talking about and focusing on everything that you're going to be receptive to. Tony Robbins talks about it as a reticular activating system. Like, what are you receptive to right now? The fact, all these things with your family. I was just talking to Chuck in regards to all the positives in regards to your relationships with people, with your family, on this going on, all the positives on people that are finding good deals, on dealing with only serious buyers. And there's a lot of good things that are going on right now. And it's just like, you can't lose track of that. Right. So that was the biggest shift for me.
Wow. That's great, man. I appreciate you sharing all that stuff. So what is it that you're doing right now? So I know you have a strong mindset and you went through all that stuff, but you said keeping your mind clear. So what are the things you do daily to keep your mindset right? To not let any of those things get in?
Daily for the mindset is a lot. I have a lot of people that I follow on podcasts, on YouTube, and also I have a few masterminds that I'm a part of. So we share consistently. A lot of them are YouTube videos. A lot of them we share with each other in regards to just messages. So books, podcasts, YouTube videos, but every single day. That's what I do. Okay. Now, everybody, there's people that listen to it in the shower while you're getting ready, whatever, but you got to, like, really engulf yourself and study the principles instead of just listening to it. It goes in one ear out the other.
Yeah, right. So for work right now, with all this stuff that's going on, are you doing anything different? Are you doing the same things you were doing? What's the difference for you and response from people that's happening while we're going through this?
I'm really old school, man. It's just, I just do what I know how to do, which is just stay in touch with past clients, center of influence. I know that it's probably not what people want to hear. Like, okay, what you have to do different right now is this. Yeah. What I'm doing is 10xing what I always do, which is coming from a place of service. It's almost like the conversation I'm having with a bunch of people is not even real estate related, but they bring up the real estate. That's a good position to be in, because I come from a place of, like, hey, how's your family doing? What's going on? Are you guys good with work? If you need anything, please don't hesitate. And then it's what everybody's doing. Take care and be safe, or stay safe. Right now, it's a simple message, but I'll tell you this, the agents that I've been talking to, okay, how many people, really, be honest with me, did you send that message to? Did you send any message to? Did you talk to? Oh, no, I'm going to get started in this and that. Okay, at the end of the day, you're not doing. We have all this time. We're not getting ready. We're not getting suited up. We don't have to travel to get to work. We don't have to do all. Like, you have that much more time right now, and you're still not making your contacts. That's pretty bad. All I'm doing is I'm making sure that I do that. I text. I started grabbing a bunch of people that I'm connected through on social media and asking them for their personal info, because I'm keeping them updated as far as the information on real estate and options to them. So I'm getting referrals by asking people, because I want to help the other people, like the family members, friends, families of the people I already do know. And just always just planting seeds and nurturing and cultivating my database, cleaning it up, making sure that all the information is accurate. So I'm just doing that a lot more. And Richard always holds me accountable in regards to, hey, did you meet these number of contacts? With database, it takes longer because everybody wants to talk about everything. And right now, I feel like I'm repeating myself with everything that's going on because people want to know how it's affecting real estate. How is this going to affect real estate? So I did lose business. I lost listings and I lost some sales. Okay, out of all the ones that I made, some people did cancel. It was a listing, the buyer side canceled after the inspection, after the appraisal. One of them we had the loan docs. That happens, but it still continues. I'm going to get more, and there's more serious people on there. And funny, the ones that fell out, now we're negotiating a new agreement with. So it's just going to continue, and that's it.
Yeah. And that's good. I mean, I think the thing is that stuff is going to happen that you can't control. That's going to happen to us always, whether it's this or it's anything else, right? It's the coronavirus or it's any other thing that can affect your life. And if your mindset is, I can get another one, I think that's the most important thing is, that fell apart, but I can get another one. And I think even for most agents, even if they're in a position where they're not at the production level they want to, if they start to take that tact of, hey, I can get another one, where I'm not emotionally invested in that one deal, it's going to be much healthier for them mindset-wise moving forward. And I think that's really important that you have that, hey, it's going to happen, it falls out, I get another one.
And that you control the controllable, what you can. Everything that's happening outside, that's happening outside, you still have an opportunity and an obligation to all the people that are your past client center of influence to reach out and keep them updated. People, you know, when I have my contest, it's like that constant question. Hey, when you call the people, like, what do you tell them? They don't just want to go into the, hey, this is a business call like Mike Ferry does. Yeah. Okay, so then what do you talk about? What do you tell them? Now, there's so many things to talk about. Of course, COVID-19, but everything else, you checking in with them, even more of a reason. It's not awkward. Mm-hmm. They appreciate it. I can't tell you how many just texts of appreciation that I got. Hey, thank you. It's really nice to know that you're checking up on me in these times. Well, yeah, I'm doing it. Like I really had somebody ask me like, hey, I can't get masks. Can you help me because my elderly parent, this and that. I got them a few masks. So when people ask you, if you're coming from a true place of contribution, somebody asks you for help, you got to make it happen. Yeah. You know, so I did that. And by the way, I found a place where they have those N95 masks if anybody needs any. Okay. So really 10Xing those things I do and just staying in contact. Okay. Out of about 8 agents, I can tell you people are not staying in contact. And what is it? I don't know. If you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? Now is a good time to set the playing field on your communication with them, because then you're following up with making sure that whatever seeds you planted right now are coming, you know, are harvesting.
Yeah, and I'm sure, and it's difficult. It's always difficult to work from home and make new schedules. But again, everything comes back to mindset. What is my focus? How do I feel? All of that stuff is controlled by, am I thinking positively about what I'm able to do and what I can do and what's available to me out there? So I think it's great to listen to that stuff about, hey, you got to get past everything else because you can't control it. And those conversations that you have with people who you should care about, right? Your past clients, your center of influence, all those people, those conversations, like you said, are planting seeds for the future. So you've got to be prepared on how you're going to work that when this is all over. With that said, what do you do? What systems do you use specifically to help you with that, right? You have those seeds planted. Now you've got to be able to sow them for the next 6, 8, 9, 12, 18 months. How do you do that?
I use top producers and reminders on my phone. That's pretty much it. Guys, I was doing a good job with follow-up with an Excel spreadsheet because Excel spreadsheets are what engineers used back in the day, and all the little formulas in the cells, and I would put people's names and I put dates, and then I would sort them in different ways, and I would start up with a graph in regards to, like, I would really complicate a spreadsheet, guys. Okay, so I try not to complicate things. I think about things. It's just the nature of how my brain works, okay? So don't complicate whatever system you want to use. I use Top Producer. It's simple, but it has transaction management, which I really like, which is why I use it, okay? Keep my database in there, but everything originally goes into Google Contacts, and that syncs with Top Producer. And that's how I keep everything. And the alerts, they're through my iPhone, through Google, and also through Top Producer. The thing is, Top Producer limited on a couple of things. On mass text that I'm using a lot right now, I'm shared with a lot of agents, A to Z contacts, A, the number 2, Z contacts, because I can personalize them. Like when I send a text to you, Kyle, what do I always call you?
Kyle.
No, come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. I always call my buddy. So it's weird. It'd be weird if I call him Kyle. So I put nicknames in there, and that's how I interact with a lot of people. So I personalize the text message. I don't use, what's the one that you guys are using? Not Lion's Desk. Is it Lion's Desk?
Lion's Desk, yeah.
Okay, I thought it was another one where it sends out a mass text to everybody. That's quick. It gets it done. And if you find yourself not putting the time it takes into something else to get your message across, use Lion's Desk to mass communicate with a lot of people. Okay, I just so happen to do it this way. And some people let it get a little complicated and they end up doing nothing at all. So beware of that. Yeah.
That's the thing is I think for most of us, we start to get too much into the details, right? We have to be super creative and I have to make my own marketing materials and I have to do all those things. And the more we do that, the farther we get away from actually using them and being efficient with them.
So what I do is I put a deadline on myself is that I pretend I have a listing appointment. If I have a task, I got to get it done. And it's reasonable to get it done by 8 o'clock tonight. Okay, at 8 o'clock, something's going out with or without all the bells and whistles that I want to do to it. So I start, and by that time, if I didn't get it out, it's got to go. It just has to go, and that's it. And that's how the message has got to go out sometimes.
Well, you have to do that to yourself. If you don't do that, especially I'm sure dealing with the amount of past clients and center of influence you're dealing with, if you did that, you'd get really behind. If you didn't let yourself just say, okay, this is the deadline and we have to go.
Yes. And just like that, don't complicate the mindset too. Like turn off on the mindset, keep it real simple. I have alerts like when somebody that I follow will post something, it'll just let me know. And at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, I go in and I listen to it. A lot of people have the news in that where they're getting bombarded with all these negative things right now. So what I do, I listen to CNBC and CNN. It's like they give an update at the end of the day. And at the beginning of the day, I go in and just, hey, here's an update. Okay, 2,000 people died the day before, in the last 24 hours. Okay, so I get that, but it's just like, I want to hear what's going on, but then I focus the majority of the time on feeding positivity. Because I can feel bad listening to that other stuff, and I can feel really good listening to this stuff. So you got to be aware of that as well. Okay?
Someone sneaking up on you or what?
No, these kids are trying to break open the door.
Oh, I thought Maria was there getting back at you.
I'm sure she will. I lost you again.
No, here we go. So somebody on here unmuted them, so their video came up first. So you talked about podcasts. What podcast specifically are you listening to every morning to help with that?
Lewis Howes is good. I think somebody just asked me to share the podcast that I'm listening to. So I listen to business ones, and I listen to, especially right now with the tenants, Dennis Block, I listen to a lot of motivational ones. So I think the best thing to do is I'll make the list, and then people just choose whichever ones they want, because the podcasts, I'm part of like 50 of them. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I listen to some that are for faith-based, some that are for marriage. I mean, what I take is like, the 7 equities of life. And I really focus on, some that are health. All the ones that I listen to, they're chopped up into the 7 equities or even more equities of life. It's a balance wheel. So I focus on keeping track and checking myself on all the different areas. So it's not just business.
That's good. Yeah. Well, it has to be though. But if you're really thinking about your mindset, you have to work on all of it. You can't work on one thing.
Yes.
Right. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So let's go into some of the questions that people had here in the chat so that we can make sure nobody feels left out.
I can't see the chat, right?
You can. I'll read the questions though.
Okay.
So Patricia was the one that asked about the specific podcast. So you're going to send out that list. Leo wanted to know, is there something that you learned from a young agent that you use today? So somebody who's newer than you that is doing something different. Did you learn something from anybody that has less experience than you?
I was just talking to Neil in regards to the way I post stuff online, the way I post it on social media. Okay. And he brought up something in regards to me having like a follow-up system on the landing page, which is a business page. And the way that I'm targeting and not targeting stuff, I really don't do any of that. I just post it and then whatever comes. So I asked him for help, and we have a pending appointment to just take it to the next level in regards to capturing the leads that come in there. So that I'm looking forward to learning for Neil. I'm not sure if he's on here, but I thanked him for, asking me to step up on that. So social media is huge. I've gotten transactions from social media, but it's not intentional. It's not duplicatable. It's not a system I'm using. I need to make it that system because a lot of people reach out to me, but it's very random. And I got to treat that like a business. What efforts am I putting into it? And I categorize my past clients center of influence, but not like going after new people. So a lot of my stuff is just like stuff of people I already know I'm interacting with, but I have to have a system to go after new deals and new people. And that's what he's going to help me with. I think he took a course, taught himself, and then he was just pointing out a few key things that I'm like, man, I know if I implement that, that's gonna be really good. Maybe if he's on here, he could just share the name of that system.
Yeah, I don't know if he's. I don't know if he is. But that's good though. I mean, see, here's the thing I think too is that one of the great things about working with us in our office, right, is that we are collaborative. I don't think anybody keeps any secrets. There's no, hey, I don't have a magic sauce that I'm not going to share with you. You want to help. And then for someone like you who has been in a level of production that you're at that people feel like you kind of have it figured out, to know that you need to open up to somebody who is newer in the business because they have an idea on something that you don't, that's important. I think we all need to be in that place. And it's tough as a human. You kind of get to where like, I kind of know it. I don't want to hear it, but we need to hear it. We need to be open to hearing everything. Because if I get one little nugget from somebody, it's great. And so for you to take that on and say, okay, I can run with that. I know that can help improve my business. That just means there's no ego involved there.
Yeah. And I like to think I have the sauce, but it's not magic. Okay. It's not a magic sauce, guys. And that's one of the things I learned from young people. I love how they're just very energetic. And I have a problem with being complacent sometimes. I just do. I've done some good investments, made some good money. So, I mean, do I have to like redline it and do all these things and push hard? And, you know, I like being competitive, but it's like I feed off of their energy. So that's another thing that I get off of some of these young people. It's not only the young people, but I see the newcomers and it reminds me a lot of the way I was. And if you do that at that time, it goes a lot farther because you're really like laying the playing field and setting your financial thermometer and your business thermometer, what you can really do. So I definitely love that. I love feeding off of, and Neil was one of the guys. I remember we spent like one day together and we went from like working out at 5 a.m. and like going through the day. And it's just like having that conversation with them. And there's a lot of guys that I have conversations with, and I really feed off of them in that energy and try to pick their brain. I become coachable. I want to feed off of Danny. I want to feed off of all these people that are just coming in and really doing well right now, because it's not something. Hey guys, wait outside. You see, it took them 40 minutes, but they both broke through the door. I told you they were gonna come in.
So okay. A couple people have asked, how often do you send out your mass texts? Is there do you have a set time, or is it?
It's not a set time. It's pretty random, and I have everybody categorized differently. Can you hear me?
I can't hear Luther.
Again, I lost you, and then you came back.
We can hear you still.
Okay, it sounds like Kyle's the one disconnecting. So there's no set time. I always do it in holidays. I only see Leo, and you're frozen. Can you hear me? Can somebody say something?
I can
okay. Right. But here's the thing. Holidays, I'm always sending them out on holidays. 100%. The thing is, I'm hearing everybody at the same time now. All right, so in holidays and every time there's something going on right now, do you have permission to just increase that to whatever you want it to be? Whenever there's a good and important update, whether it's reduction in interest rates. A lot of people are asking me those questions in regards to the real estate market. So I put, here's the 5 most common questions that I'm being asked right now. Here are the answers. You know, I'm doing something like that. When the last update that I sent was for Easter, but the one before that was a forbearance agreement.
Hey, Kyle, I think you should mute everybody.
Yeah.
The thing is, I can't do.
Sorry, Luther, I don't know what kicked me out, so that made everybody come back in. Are you there, Luther? Can you hear me?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yes.
So go ahead and keep finishing. I'm sorry about that.
I answered the question. It's nothing particular. I always focus on holidays. And right now, whenever there's an update, the forbearance one, update on that, I got a lot of feedback from people like that, because it's like, okay, can you help my tia that she's going through, she just lost her job or whatever. So a lot of time has been helping people with getting things in perspective with their options, with their forbearance agreements, okay? Easter was the last one. I just a simple Easter, and then like, hey, I'm here to help if there's anything that I can help you with. So all the updates that are happening in our industry right now are very good updates to give them. For some reason, I've gotten a lot of requests for living trust, because that's hitting people real right now. Yeah. So I put a little message together. Hey, this is what I'm getting a lot of right now. I noticed your home isn't in a trust. See, I got caught up in like checking everybody. Is it or is it not? So I just put, whether your home is not in a trust or you know of somebody that their home should be in a trust, please reach out to me. And that just worked. It's like, I don't want to let it get complicated. And I send out a mass text. Now those mass texts, I already timed them. It takes me about 2 hours. And all I'm doing is I'm digitally prospecting. That's what I'm doing. So it takes me that to send them all out, and people engage in conversations. About 80% of the people engage, and I'm just like shooting off very quick messages. I sync my Apple phone to my iPad, and I'm typing all the messages out and responding to everybody. I'm not doing it on my phone because I know some of you do that pretty well and pretty quick, but I don't, not on my phone. I need my keyboard. So I sync them, and I'm able to do it a lot quicker. So that's the system that I'm using right now.
Yeah. Somebody asked earlier, after I got cut off, somebody asked, number one, do you still door knock? And I don't think that's a yes.
No, but that shouldn't matter, because there's people that out hustle me that have sold listings. Look, shame on me. This is what I've learned from not door knocking. It's an expensive thing, but I don't do it, and I should do it. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I should do it. You take value from this. Out of the last like 6 or 7 listings, there's properties that sold because people door knocked the listings that I got, and they listed, and then some of them double-ended it. A listing I got recently, there's an agent in my office that door knocked it, listed the house, and sold it, and I could have done that. What if I said, I'm going to take the 50 or the 100? Actually, I do say, but I don't do it, okay? And one of these days I'm going to do it. I hope to catch you guys out there sometime. I'm going to take 100, just 100 flyers and door knock the immediate ones around there, because then I don't feel so bad. That's a radius that is like, okay, that's outside of 100. I'm not going to feel bad if somebody gets that, because statistically it happens that they sell, their neighbors sell, and then they're going to sell. Okay. So that's what I have to implement. And it bugs me when that happens, but it does. So you should, regardless of how you think my answer is going to affect you, you should, because I should. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Good. I like that response. Somebody asked earlier too, do you prospect NODs? Do you go after NODs?
I'm going to. I don't right now, because we're being honest, right?
Yes.
Kyle said, be honest. Okay.
Yes.
I don't right now, but that's how I made money when in the upswing of the market. Okay. I would door knock NODs. I would call NODs, and I would buy them. I would buy them, double end them, and some I would keep, some I would sell. That's huge. I'm excited if the market takes a turn. Yeah, I'll take a hit, but I'll make it up in the NODs. I'll make it up in everything that comes on the market. That's a good deal. Okay. So you should.
Yes, you should. You should too. Zuli asked, who do you refer the living trusts to? Like, do you have a specific attorney that you make referrals, or is it more just informational?
No, I actually, let me see if I can look up his name right here. He's in Downey, and I'll tell you why I chose him. I'll post his information right here as well. So the reason I chose him is because when you guys brought him to the office for something. It's Velasco Law Group. So right. Hey, well, he got something. He found something, a couple of holes in my living trust that another attorney had made, and I appreciated that so much. I'm like, I'm going to use you. I'm going to refer you business, and that's what happened. So that guy was able to show me where if my living trust would have been challenged, and yes, it's more complicated than most. Yeah. However, he showed me a couple of holes because something happened where my client's trust, where he has a financial position pretty similar to mine. And it's allocated with the corporations and stuff, the way he has it. It was challenged when we were trying to sell a property, and they prevailed. And I was like, wait a second, what about mine? Can you check this on mine? And he showed me. So it's like, shame on the other attorney that helped me out. I'm going to use this guy. So I don't know, maybe another attorney will show me a hole that's in mine right now, but I certainly appreciate it. It's the only reason why I use him. Okay. He's not cheap. He's just good. I like the way he explained it to me, and that was it. That's the only reason. So what I do is I made an agreement with them where there's a consultation with the clients for free, and then he talks to them. He doesn't speak that good of Spanish, but then I think one of his associates does. So that's it. They're local. They're in Downey.
Now, somebody just asked also, when was the last time you spoke with one of your mentors, and what was the one nugget you got from them out of that?
You know, that's not something that I do very well, where I have like a mentor. I get a lot of stuff, which is what I do from the people I listen to. And I don't take 100% from one person's advice, whether it's Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, everybody that I listen to. I kind of just get pieces, because I don't always agree with everything that they do in the grand scheme of things with their lives, but certain things I get. So there's not just like one mentor. I've talked to some of them. I've messaged some of them, just very specific questions. Okay. Just messaged Thatch the other day on something. You know, I picked Danny's brain about like, and when I make a decision on something, I was about to build a fourplex, and I'm glad we didn't break ground. There's a little hiccup in the property, but it's like, okay, we overcame that and whatever. And that was something that it's like, I got to pick his brain, because he's doing that. He's building the fourplexes. So about a property, wanted to keep it, wanted to build a fourplex, and wanted to go even bigger on it. But it's like, I educate myself and follow somebody that's doing that. Whoever my mentor is, you know, I've asked Pastor Danny a couple of things. I've asked in regards to my fitness, somebody else. And I have like virtual mentors and mentors that I go to when I need to improve that aspects of my life. Okay. And I asked Joe a lot of stuff. I asked you, Kyle, on some stuff too. So it depends. It's not just one mentor. I don't have, unfortunately, even though I should as well, have like one specific coach, but I should. It's just like, I really, from the last downturn, I felt like a lot of my stuff was unbalanced, where the financial was there, and it was there really good, because my wife at the time even made more money than I did with everything that I was doing with developing in real estate. So the money wasn't the problem. It was everything else. But when you start seeing trouble in something and everything starts collapsing, it gets pretty bad. So I really focus on trying to keep like going towards a balanced life, because you can't keep it. It's hard. It's like you're constantly adjusting and improving. So I just focus on that now. So mentors in different ways, depending on what your goal is, and everybody's goal is different.
Well, that's what you were like.
Answer, but I hope that helps.
No, it does help. But, and like you were talking about having the balanced life, right? That if you focus too much on how to keep everything balanced, at some point, some things are going to be out of balance to get something to improve, right? To improve one area, some area of your life is going to be out of balance. And so I think that causes a lot of stress for people when they think like, I'm not balanced. I need to do this. I need to do that. That's just going to cause more stress and an issue. You have to realize, if I'm working on this area may suffer a little bit, but when I get this in order, then I can go back and work on that. It's always a constant movement.
And those little improvements, so that constant movement, as small as it is, but you're improving. You know, one of the things we're all dealing with right now is working out and living healthy, eating right. Yeah. Right?
Not all of us. Not all of us.
Okay. So yeah, it's on your face. You're doing something good. Good job. So on that topic, as long as you do something a little bit in the morning, and you're I don't know, meal prepping, doing what you have to do, as long as you're doing those small improvements that are measurable, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Milton asked, in your first 5 years, looking back now, what would you have done different in those first 5 years that you didn't do?
That's a good question. I would eliminate a lot of distractions. You know, when I first started, actually, I met Richard when I first started. I left that company, but I met Richard, and going back, and you know how we're all looking for that magic pill that Cal mentioned, or the magic sauce. So it's like I was doing what everybody else is doing, just looking for this and looking for that, or what's next, what's going to happen. If I would have just stuck to what I was doing a year later, do it at the beginning, then a lot of things would have been different. I would have gained momentum a lot quicker. And that's all that matters, because when you're new, all that other stuff it's not that it's too advanced or you got to find your niche or whatever. The niche is the same thing. If you start gaining momentum, then you start branching out into other things when you have the ability to, and you start making money and you have a lot more options, but complicated things. And that's why I think I got into investing. I'm grateful that it happened the way it did, but if I would have just stayed focused, I would have made a lot more money in the NODs. I would have been a good heavy REO agent, because I felt like I had the contacts. I just was distracted with all kinds of things. When some of the people that I knew, that I just don't feel that they were hustlers enough like I was, were getting REO accounts, I was going through my downturn and everything. And I just felt like I wasn't worthy because my world was tumbling down. And I really felt like maybe that was a good thing, because if I would have got accustomed to doing REOs only, and then when it got better, then I wouldn't know how to do it, everything I do now. So no regrets. However, I wasn't present to the opportunities then, which is why all those distractions, you need to get rid of them. And we need to focus on the fact that, who said this? Was it Ron in our meeting? He says, it doesn't matter what's going on. Homes, whatever amount, when you're giving your statistics, they're going to sell. Who's selling them? The guys, the agents that are focused and they're doing the sales. Why isn't it you? Because you're watching the news, because you're watching all this stuff that's going on. And from the comfort of your home, you could have done so much and you didn't. Yeah. And that's what we need to focus on.
Nice. I like that. Somebody just asked, what are you telling your sellers to keep them in the market?
I would hate to have the conversation that we could have sold at this time and we didn't, and the market shifted, and now you're taking a huge hit. Okay, nobody has a crystal ball, but if things continue the way they are, it's going to get worse before it gets better. So now's the opportunity. You have that window still, because the real estate is still good. And all the indicators, people losing their jobs for so long and us not being able to go back to work, like the recovery, I feel, is not going to be the same. It's not going to be that switch that they're going to turn on. Okay, economy works again. Let's go back. Let's all go back to work. I just don't feel it's going to be that way. So all the numbers aren't going to lie. Now, it can happen where they do flip a switch and that second hit of the stimulus money comes in and the businesses start moving forward, and not everybody's going to go back to work, but a lot of people that do, and the prices are still going to be the same. But that's a little bit of a wishful thinking right there for a seller to just say, hey, I'm going to hold off on that. Now to get more money, I've heard one person say that the market's going to get better. I lost you again. Can somebody confirm they're hearing me?
Yeah, hear you.
I think Kyle's the only one that keeps cutting off. You got to unmute yourself, Luther. You have to, yeah, there you go.
Okay. So can somebody ask the questions, some of the questions? I can't see the chat for some reason. Neil, can you speak? I don't think I can hear you.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hey, there, I'm back.
Okay,
Can you hear me, Luther?
Yeah.
Okay. The last question before I got kicked out, there was two. One was, how do you keep your ego in check? I swear it was in the chat. I'm not making that up.
Guys, I know I come across like that sometimes. It's a little confident. I'm actually not confident at all. It's a smoke screen that I throw up. It's just a smoke screen. Richard, was that you?
No, I'm gonna rat out Leo. It was Leo.
That was me, but it wasn't like, it was like, how do you, when you have high levels of success, how do you still manage to like keep yourself in check? Not like, oh, Luther, hey, I see you have an ego. How do you check that? Like, no, it's not like that.
Don't try to take it back, Leo. You know what you meant.
I know how you manipulate my words. So I wanted to. That's my question.
Look, any time of the day, especially now, you can look up 50 reasons to feel like crap. And you can look up 100 to feel really good, man. You can. Focus on your limitations or focus on your blessings, whatever it is. I focus on everything that's going right instead of things that are going wrong. That's it, man. It makes me feel really good just to know that, we always talk about like getting ready and getting ready for when the market shifts. Look, I bought a rental property that it's sitting with 3 vacant units right now. I'm taking a hit on that. I closed on an investment that I have to fix up right now. I just put an investment this morning on the market, a flip. Okay, gonna sell my house. Like the market's gonna hit me. Okay, but that's not the sprint that I'm focused on. I'm focused on that marathon. And in the marathon right now, we're going up a little hill that's bumpy. Okay, and more the glory in overcoming it. That's all it is, because that's going to weed out a bunch of competition. It's going to weed out the competition on investing, on real estate. Look at what happened to, what was it, Redfin, that let go a lot of agents. A lot of agents are leaving the marketplace. A lot of agents are going to get very comfortable right now. That momentum is going to just mess up a lot of people. So I'm focused on the long run. Whatever hit right now, I'll be able to absorb it. I'm grateful for that, because it's why I worked hard so much. And it's if you set yourself up right in this business, then you're not recession proof, but you're able to take whatever. Is anybody worried about Joe? Is anybody worried? Well, yeah, we got to worry about Joe, right? But if you do everything right, make the right investments and make some good money, it's for times like this that it's like you're not worried. Now the people that are, okay, if you caught the beginning of this, I was in like such a bad position, okay? Such a bad position financially, mentally, everywhere. And that's when, because I worried so much year after year because of what was happening, that's when I ended up getting diagnosed with bladder cancer, which I overcame as well. I can't think of a worse position to be in on top of all the stuff that I went through, okay? So then I think, oh, are we really in such a bad position? Come on. Like, you're not. So it's not keeping your ego in check. It's just like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. And even if sometimes it flickers, sometimes it's not that good. Like, focus, like put those blinders on and what you know that works. And if you do all you can do every single day, you're not going to feel bad. What starts to set in is when you're not doing your job on top of everything that happens, and you know it and you regret it and you're like, damn, it's a downward spiral that you get into. Just be careful with that. Okay.
So Steve Avila asked too, that you had given him, I guess, with dealing with this, you gave him the advice to focus on one form of prospecting to get through this. And so he was asking, should I continue to do that, or when this is all over, just focus on one type of prospecting, or should I branch out, expand?
The type of prospecting being center of influence in past clients?
He just said you told him to focus on one thing.
Okay. I will always focus on that. I really pride myself in just generating the business that I do on that only. Okay. Now, I think you should be really strong with that. See, the thing is, somebody that's been in the business like 5 years and plus should have a decent book of business that they're doing this with. And that grows. And everybody that you meet should go in, the people that you prospect to. So you should always be working that. If you're not, you're leaving a lot of money on the table, because that's what's going to build your business. So what I'm shooting for is creating my database to be like 1,000 to get 10% that you're supposed to every year from your business and get 100 deals. Okay. From there come investment opportunities. Okay. I always somehow buy my listings every year. You get, 2 or 3 that you end up buying. Okay. This last year bought 3. It always happens. And you get the investments, if you want to go that route, from your inventory that you prospect to, that you reach out to. So it builds on each other. So I get so much from my prospecting that I do in that regard, that I don't do anything else. It doesn't mean I shouldn't. Now, if you have a limited amount of database, then yes, you should be, like people are asking, doing NODs, door knocking, because that's what worked for me before I got to that point. It really works. Everything works as long as you work it. I was talking to Carlos Nogales, and he's like, no, I'm more of a like in-person kind of thing. Like, he does very well. He's he has a good personality, starts talking. He thinks he's a little smooth, right? Like, he has a little flow. Like, he conversates pretty well. I got to give it to him. So that works for him. With me, yeah, when I get nervous, I stutter. I'm not sure if you guys notice, but I stutter when I'm on the phone, and I hated that. It was worse before. So then what happens is that I didn't want to do over the phone. I wanted to do in person. and some people are the opposite. So whatever works for you, I think you should implement several, like I did when I was starting. Okay. Like I should do, like I'm doing what I'm doing now, right? Like you said, I should do the door knocking, should do that. Where would my business be if I did that, right?
Yeah. So Chuck had a question a long time ago, and he just sent me a message saying, hey man, ask my question. So I'm going to unmute Chuck and let him ask you his question, because I don't remember it. So there's Chuck. Chuck, are you there? Chuck?
Luther, our conversation this morning, being that I had all this idle time at home, of course, I did a Google search in Downey, top agents on different platforms of advertising and lead generation, and your name came up. Besides Michael Burdellis, your name came up side by side on Zillow. So, you know, I know there's a big budget there for that. And then what other forms and what other platforms are you using? What are your top 3? What are the most effective? What type of budget do you have set aside for that, if you don't mind answering that?
No, not at all. There's 2. I still see you on the screen. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, there's like a little buffering thing going on. So I do 2 only right now, which is Zillow. And I committed to Yelp for a year. And it's just really hard to compete on Yelp. That's the only thing. Zillow is the one that's, it's a little different when it comes to reviews, when it comes to the way clients interact with you. And they have a platform for you to interact and follow up with those leads, okay? Where it's Yelp, it's like either somebody calls you or they don't based on your reviews. Those that have done Yelp can see it's very difficult to compete with the people that have hundreds of reviews. It's very difficult to get them. But I still want to do it as much as I could. I want to be everywhere. If you go on most sites, I always focus on getting reviews and being on there. Now, the ones that I advertise on is I have a few months left on Yelp, but it's only with Zillow, okay? And the reason I do that is because when I started advertising with them, I guess when you're a premier agent and you have a certain amount of reviews, when you have a listing, the possibilities of you double ending it, because the people that go on there, you get the lead on your listings. So it's worth it for me to do that, because I focus on getting listings. On all listings that I get, I want the leads to come to me and not to be intercepted by all these other Zillow agents out there that just come in and just say, okay, I want to show your listing. It just came through and I could have just double ended it. So that's the reason why I focus on them. And the ad spend is about, you know, 650.
Cool. Thanks. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, first off, thanks, pal, for doing this. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. And I'll be available if anybody wants to ask me any questions after that. Please feel free.
All right. Well, thank you, Luther. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for being on this. And I did record it, so I'll try to figure out a way to get you guys a copy of all of this. So stay safe, be healthy, and talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luther.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.